Welcome back. As we earlier said, that the group of G7 advanced economies met in Cornwall in the United Kingdom last week, and it was the first in-person meeting after the pandemic, or since the pandemic began last year. Of course, there was a lot on the table, and the climate change to pandemic and the global economic recovery, although not everyone will think of the outcome go far enough. Here are 4 of the key takeaways from the summit. We're going to be taking a comprehensive look over the summit and over the world economies in light of COVID-19 and the impact, the positive and the negative impact over the world economies in general since it started. We're very delighted to be having with us live in the studio Dr. Zainab Nawar. She is a lecturer of economics in one of the prominent universities here in Egypt. Good morning, Dr. Nawar.
Good morning, my dear.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
First of all, we need to know the significance of the summit and its timing. The first since the pandemic began last year. It was not online. President Joe Biden attended, and the first visit for President Joe Biden to Europe ever since he stepped into office. You know, a lot of takes over that particular meeting of the G7 since the pandemic started.
Yes, of course, the meeting of G7, it was cancelled last year because of the COVID-19, and then they had done it once online. The significance of this type of meetings, and of course top meetings, that they do discuss what actually the world is suffering, what are the problems that is happening right now, what could be done to solve a lot of issues and a lot of troubles the world is facing now because of COVID-19. So the thing that the ideas and the discussions that they do during these meetings, the thoughts and a lot of ideas and a lot of support, maybe they will bring it to the poorer part of the world. All of this would partially help in dealing with the consequences of COVID-19. So actually, when we talk about this type of meetings with the presidents, the G7, it's very important because it tells you what is the direction, what will be the coming direction for those leaders, for those allies, what they are going to do, what they are going to provide for the world in dealing with the COVID-19 crisis. Because if we talk about the leaders of the world, so all the countries, they are expecting from them to provide further support. If we talk, of course, further support, and especially for the poorer and for the poor countries. So this meeting is very important meeting, and all the results that they came out so it's very strong and it's good results. But actually, as an economist, I hope that they can deliver successfully what they had promised to deliver.
Right, of course, as you all know, as we are in the midst of one of the worst pandemics that happened in history, the G7 leaders pledged to deliver an additional 870 million vaccines doses for developing countries, on top of the 250 million already promised by the United States and the 100 million from the United Kingdom. So how do you take, what is your take over the process of distributing vaccines worldwide? It's very important. Probably in light of what we're living now, it could be way much more priority than economic decisions and economic plans and other common economic interests between countries of the G7. How do you take the distribution or the importance of distributing vaccines to countries worldwide?
Of course, the health of people is to come first before we talk about any
and
economic.
it's related to economy and development.
Of course, because if people's health have been affected, so there is no production, there is no economic activity. And this is what happened along 2 years. We're still now in COVID-19 for 2 years long now. The world economy is suffering. The issue that for the poorer segments of population in different countries around the world, they are not able to be provided with the vaccine. Some of the African countries, because of some sort of leakage and deficiency happened in their budget, so they don't have the money, they don't have the revenue to buy the vaccine. So from this point that the leaders of the G7, they came and said, yes, we will provide these poor countries with the vaccine and we will support them, because COVID-19 actually had caused a lot of issues, a lot of problems to a lot of countries, especially in Africa, because there was no trade, no economic activity, so no exportation, no production,
Exactly,
so
and
no
especially
revenue.
also that the workforce in some developing countries is very essential to many capitals in Europe
Yes,
and in the United
yes,
States.
yes,
I
yes.
mean, most of the major industries, they depend on the workforce in India, in Thailand, and some other developing countries, which is an essential to maintain hygiene and everything.
Everything, yes. What the G7 is doing, that they are going to give like some sort of aid, providing vaccine to these poor countries. But I would see that it's much more important to support these countries in the production of the vaccine. And this is the thing that actually will guarantee the sustainability of this type of aids, because we don't know at the end as citizens what's going to happen for the next year. Do we still have the same type of COVID-19, or we will have a new type? So supporting the research and development in the poor countries and supporting them to produce this vaccine and supporting them to R&D, this is, from my point of view, this is the most important step later on. So providing the vaccine, this is an excellent step. Supporting these poor countries are an excellent effort. Plus, later on, we need more help in the research and development. This will guarantee the sustainability. This is at least to be done from the leaders of the G7 towards the poor countries and towards the crisis that we have now worldwide. So I see it's a good step from them, but still further steps needed to be done by them.
By those countries.
By G7, especially when we talk about China. I'll give you something, some of the debate that is happening now, that the G7 also is trying to figure out solutions to deal with the world economy. Now you have the Chinese part, they are providing what we can say dollar-to-dollar and cash projects. If you'd like to develop a community, truly development, so this will come through projects. And this is what China is doing now in some of the African countries. They are working on projects, they are hiring people. They are supporting the countries, they invest a lot. So at least from the G7, they are trying to handle the thing, they are trying to handle and to counter this Chinese effort and this Chinese also huge work in Africa and in different parts of the world. So they are trying to work on this area of vaccination and they are trying to support the world, which is good effort from them.
Right. But also, if we are talking about priorities for people who are in charge of the economic plan worldwide, or mapping the economic map worldwide, there must be priorities, and the map has changed definitely. And most of the leaders, world leaders, are in full realization of that. If we are going to prioritize our interests on the economic map for 2023, 2026, how would we rearrange them? Starting from now.
If we are going to rearrange them dealing with the new COVID variables that we have.
Exactly.
First priority now, it's about the health sector and investment in health sector. Investment in drug manufacturing, and this is what we are doing now in Egypt for the new project of the new drug city. Yes, yes,
and preserving
the environment.
Because all of the disasters are coming from the violations of environmental violations.
I just watched some of the videos from the civil societies from different countries around the world, and they kept saying that we are the Western countries, we are the reason for this climate change and this environmental change, and we should support the poorer segments of the society. Definitely they will do this, but I see for the environmental protection and for climate change, it will need a hell and a lot of effort, and it has to have some sort of international collaboration between all and different countries, and especially if we talk about G7, G20, all the leaders of the world, and they should also work on what we say. They should. What I just feel about this, it's what I see for the time being, some sort of packages provided for the environmental protection, new ways for financing projects, which is okay, but I still feel that we still have a larger and in-depth problem for the climate change more than this. I don't know what they should do. It needs a hell of effort from
Of
from
course,
these
I
countries.
totally agree with you. There is a package full of difficulties when we look towards resolving that particular issue of environmental violations and the climate change. But on top of all, simply awareness is the first step. Awareness to the world, awareness to the poorer countries, awareness to humanity, not to violate the rules of environment, awareness to deforestation, against deforestation, and enlightening people with knowledge about the dangers of different terminologies and dangers that are related to violating the rules of environmental rights.
Yes,
and especially endangered species and things like that.
Yes, I agree with you, but what I see on practical level, I see that all the world now is trying to look for, we want to recovery from COVID-19 and
they still haven't learned the lesson.
And having zero effects of climate change. This is what they are calling
that
for.
That won't be effective unless there is step on one, which is awareness, and then the projects, financing the projects, and then taking other steps further to be able to address the difficulties and the problems of the environment and climate change.
Yes, of course, they have to do this.
Because there are reasons for climate change.
Yes, yes, but they have to do this. But unfortunately, I'll tell you something. Yes, I see a lot of what they are calling to be done now for the environmental problems, but I see that for the poorer part of the world, things are not this, are not going into this direction. Why? Because we have in some poor countries in Africa, for example, we have, they don't have revenue in their budget. They're just looking for how to provide their citizens with the at least basic services.
Basic needs, yes.
And I'm sorry to tell you, we started to look for food and these basic type of needs for the humans. So if you want to talk with those people who are looking for the their basic needs, it's very hard for them to convince them with the environment because they have other things to think of. If you talk about the health sector and the investments in health and investing in human capital and new ways to manufacture drugs and to solving all the issues of the health sectors and health problems around the world, it became a necessity because, again, the health of the individuals, this is the actual capital that you do have. Then you will see that we will start to think about the environment and the environmental degradation and the climate change. The main reason for this was the Western countries. They are trying to do a lot of efforts. Here in Egypt, we are doing an effort, and a lot of efforts have been done worldwide. But again, we still need the sustainability. We still need the true faith of this. We don't want to just have like this type of statements and this a nice statement to be said by the Western leaders, and then what about what's going on the ground? This is the most important thing.
You know, because most of the people who are really concerned about the situation in general and observing the scene truly remember President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, like 3 or 4 years before, ever since he started his soft diplomacy and soft power in visiting countries and attending conferences. The number one subject and concern that he used to address was the climate change. He was very much concerned until this very moment, as if he had foresight that climate change is, if we do not take it seriously, it's going to bring us a lot of trouble.
Yes.
That's why it's time that we take it seriously and think of addressing it before anything else. So we talked about climate change, violating the environmental rights and medical care. And also there are other, other issues that we should press or choose over the new economic map or the world map, like for example digitalization.
Yes, yes. It became a must, it became a need for the countries. And now for the G7, they started to have this type of talk about the cyber protection, you know, that digital economy and moving into more electronic ones. Had brought a lot of issues, had brought a lot of talks. Even if you talk about the type of transportation now, because of the digital economy we started to have, so maybe people will not ask and not go for shopping. They will ask for a delivery, like to have it in small bags delivered from India, from China, through ports and through the maritime transportation. So if we talk about digital economy and moving into this new direction, you will have a lot of issues coming on the ground. Further, a new type of trade between the countries and between the world. New type of issues like dealing with cyber and cyber protection between countries. Also, a new type of business have been now on the ground. You can do your business online. There's no need to whatever back to work using all these traditional ways that you used to do business. You can work using online system, new ways for manufacturing, new ways for entrepreneurs. So moving into a digital economy because of COVID-19, it brought a lot and huge and different types of changes into the countries and into the economies. Even the way to do an import and export activities, it would be changing on the ground. So this is actually what the COVID-19 had brought to us, which is very, we are now living in a very changing and different
Rapidly
world.
changing
And
world.
even the ethics for the G7 and for the G20 and all for this country, they started to have a new type of ways. They are doing a revision of their values even. They are saying we are keeping talking about equality and equity in societies. Do we truly do this? Do we truly provide these societies? Do we truly implement our values on the ground? Or we have other partner, which is China, are working more practical and giving the power through money and through projects and through development and through giving more aid. So they're starting to do some sort of revision of their strategies and their politics.
Exactly.
So COVID-19 in the new world had brought a lot of changes for the coming years. So this is the importance of this G7, G7 and previously the G20, because we see new changes now, and we have for Egypt to deal with these type of new changes, and we see what will be our interest in, and we have to be in, because we have to benefit from all of these changes and strategies worldwide.
Amongst also the concerns when we are those who are addressing the new economic map or the new world map is the nuclear power and the military power. Of course, nuclear could be sighted weapon, but at the same time. So the most important issues that had to be addressed over the new map and the consumption of the nuclear power and ways to be able to find beneficiaries from nuclear power. We're going to discuss nuclear power and then we go to the military equipment also. But let's first discuss nuclear power.
I would agree with you partially with this, but I would say that if we talk about nuclear power or military power, again, new changes that have come into our world, that it's now became the power of knowledge.
It's a little bit declining than before.
It's the power of knowledge, the power of information, the power of new ways of doing business, even the politics. If you talk about the nuclear power, no, it's for the USA, for the US and for the European countries. They started to have different strategies now because other powers had been or other new giant economies and other new powers now in the scene. Everything is different. You cannot judge what's happening now.
But then they are rearranging their policies also.
They are trying, but I will tell you something. China and whatever and Russia are moving faster than them. Still, from my point of view, I still see that these Western allies, they are just, they are just restricted by their values, whether they had
Do you
truly
think they're still
implement or
going
not.
by the old school?
I see it so. They are not able to come with these changes, huge changes in China and Russia, and this will also put a restriction about the nuclear power, because now the powers of the world and the allies have been changing. So if they, for example, the Western Union, the Western countries, sorry, are doing some sort of pressure on Iran or whatever, it's now changing. All of these are now changing. They have to do a revision for their policies. Otherwise, they cannot sustain. They cannot sustain at their power. Even for the military power, it's not now
it's
number
not
one.
important anymore.
No, and I will tell you something. You have to know that the U.S. had asked much of their forces from Afghanistan, from different parts. Do you know this? That the U.S. now are trying to capture them back into the U.S. Why? Why? Because the U.S. cannot put more money for the military part of the world, because they need to invest more in further areas to deal with the Chinese economy and to deal with the Chinese power. So now the military power, now it will be less, because all of these countries, the leaders of the world, the Western leaders of the world, the G7 and the US, they have to invest and they have to put more money in investment and building on knowledge to counter the Chinese
exactly.
part of the world.
We still have more and more to say and count on for the new map of the world, but unfortunately we ran out of time. Dr. Zainab Nawar, you are a lecturer of economy at one of the prominent universities in Egypt. Thank you so much for coming. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
And I guess that would bring us to the end of this segment, but we're going to be continuing with the breakfast show. We're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue, so stay with us.